Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Now, in my area, I normally celebrate Thanksgiving in October, while my American viewers celebrate in November. So I asked myself this: which month should I release this review? October for Canadians or November for Americans? Well, I had a goal for this one. Since I recently expanded my review series to my DeviantArt page, beginning with my review of Phineas and Ferb the movie, Candace Against the Universe, I decided why not do one method in two separate months for this. Now, if you want to know what I've done with it, then please go to the video located in the upper right corner of this video. Now, with that said, I am here to talk about the 2013 computer-animated Thanksgiving comedy film, Freebirds. This film is actually the feature-length debut of animation studio RealFX, which previously contributed to the animation in various films, spin-offs, shorts, and theme park rides before this, many of which are based on other animated film and cartoon properties like the 2010s Looney Tunes shorts, Ice Age: A Mammoth Christmas, The Simpsons ride, Despicable Me Minion Mayhem, The Wild, and many more. They would later go on to create films such as The Book of Life, as well as working on films including Rock Dog, Sherlock Gnomes, Ugly Dolls, and Scoob. So now that they're joining the other major animation studios and creating their own original production, how did they make their first impression with this movie? Is it something that we'll all be thankful for, or will we have to make like Reggie and Jake and go back in time to remove this from the Thanksgiving menu? So now we start things off by analyzing the plot of the movie, and the first thing I notice is that now I know how ridiculous the idea is. The whole premise is about a duo of time-traveling turkeys trying to prevent the first Thanksgiving. I dare you to say that repeatedly as fast as you can. But otherwise, there's very little to it. There isn't much of an actual story that drives this film except for the mission to stop Thanksgiving. It's such a big issue for the movie as it seems to mistake a story for a goal. This goal is the thing that tasks the characters to do something, and the story is everything they try to accomplish that leads them to that goal. Sure, they actually do whatever they can to keep Thanksgiving from happening, but they have nothing to do with the plot. The movie literally contains a bunch of random jokes and a useless romance B-story between Reggie and Jenny that has no point to the main story. But if I would have to find the worst part of the story, it would have to be the ending, which almost ruins the whole feature. Without really spoiling anything for some cases, I'll just say that time-traveling turkeys aren't as stupid as an ending like that. But despite all that, there are some parts that I can give credit to. Sure, the humor mostly consists of dumb cartoon slapstick, and there are some jokes that are pretty bad, but at the same time, there are those moments where I actually laughed at the jokes, and not to mention that it does fit well with the ridiculous tone of the movie, where it feels like it truly knows that its concept is pretty dumb, so it can and it will get away with the ridiculous comedy whenever it wants. Another good thing I can say about it is the ideas of the way that the turkeys lived during the year 1621. It's pretty fascinating how the turkeys live underground together acting as a native tribe. But on the other hand, there are some things that happen in the film, but they're not really enough to make up a story. As this is the first film created by RealFX, it really shows that the animation in this movie looks very weak in comparison to their later works. I can only describe it by saying that it's pretty cheap and in some cases generic. Like, there's nothing new we see in the design that is being left to the creative mind. After a few viewings, it can feel like every single turkey looks no different from one another except for one minor difference, and no matter where they go, most of those places don't really look that appealing to be a part of. It's worse that the background animation and the forest they enter both look awful with trees that don't look real at all and an atmosphere that doesn't show its color. Yet it's even worse that the characters too come with such a boring color scheme like gray and brown. I will admit that the character animation is decent on its own, but I feel like the movie should have gone in a route that is more cartoony in the same way as films like Madagascar or Scoob, so that it fits more with the stupid plotline. But honestly, with everything else, I wasn't able to think of anything else I could use to describe the animation, and that's a shame too. Most of the time, animated features would contain one scene or one element with the animation they display that can really stand out and add a lot of memorability to the film. But there's nothing special that they've done with it, which makes it really dull, bland, and boring to look at throughout. It's strange since Real FX's other productions are visually pleasing at times, but that doesn't apply here. The animation could have been better and so grand to look at, but even with some decent character designs and some decent character animation, it ended up as just plain boring.
And action!
It's rather bizarre to describe the characters in this movie because a lot of them are actually well written on their own, but they're not really executed quite as well. Starting with Reggie, he's an outcast turkey who wants to find his own home with other turkeys. The interesting thing to see is how he looks for his place through such methods as being alone or being with Jenny, but only within some parts of the film. Other than that, it feels like Reggie is only there to help out on the time-traveling mission. The same applies to his friend Jake, who is a character with good development and also has a fascinating backstory about his goal to prevent Thanksgiving from ever happening, but he's mostly just quarreling with Ranger to determine who has the greatest guts between them just so that they can fill the movie with a bunch of slapstick gags. Jenny is Reggie's love interest, but she does do her job to show that she's more than just what she is to Reggie by being a powerful member of her turkey tribe as the chief's daughter. And then you've got the villain Miles Standish, a turkey hunter who plans to begin Thanksgiving by hunting turkeys for the hungry people of his town like a bounty hunter. He is a decent villain where, although he's not really menacing, he's still an antagonist with a threatening personality, and of course there will be lots of trouble when he shows up. Though he's not the best villain out there, he's still a decent warrant. When it comes to the other characters, they don't relate to the movie by a bit. Most of them are just a bunch of comic reliefs that give about nothing to the story, nor do they give out anything that would be memorable about them in the first place. Of course, some of those characters are kind of funny, and those who have a slight point to be a part of the story only appear for about a few minutes just so that they can never be heard from any time again. Overall, I'm not going to go ahead and say that some of these characters are bad at all, since some of them are actually good and well written. They're just not handled properly and could have been taken care of better. I should have known how dumb and stupid this movie is just because of its storytelling. Honestly, I can see a lot of points where Free Birds could have been a fun comedy to watch, but it ended up as a lackluster feature, where although it has some funny moments, it also contains a clueless story, mediocre animation, an improper use of good characters, and a horrible ending. If I would have to recommend this movie, I would say that this is one of those movies that is better to rent or stream at home for Thanksgiving. I don't really mean so that you can actually watch it though, but rather so that you can use it as background noise while the whole family is there to eat their Thanksgiving dinner, and as a kid distractor at the same time so that your kids can enjoy it. This could have been a great start for Real FX as a studio to release animated films on its own, but especially with the fact that it was released in one of the worst years for animation in 2013, it ultimately turned out as something we might as well not be thankful for. And with my rating, this film was so close to escaping it, but if I have to give this movie a score, combining the story, animation, and characters all together, then I would go, at best, a 4.5 out of 10 and give it my Dirksen stamp of failure. Man, I was very close to finding something better like last time. But who cares? It doesn't really matter since I did this as a special Thanksgiving review. See you all later. And remember, animation gives you power. Be proud, be famous.